A serious and good philosophical work could be written consisting entirely of jokes. The limits of my language means the limits of my world. I don't know why we are here, but I'm pretty sure that it is not in order to enjoy ourselves. Whereof one cannot speak, thereof one must be silent. Hell isn't other people, hell is yourself. The real question of life after death isn't whether or not it exists, but even if it does, what problem this really solves. Nothing is so difficult as not deceiving oneself. I am my world. If people never did silly things, nothing intelligent would ever get done. Only describe, don't explain. A man will be imprisoned in a room with a door that's unlocked and opens inwards. As long as it does not occur to him to pull rather than push. Death is not an event in life, we do not live to experience death. If we take eternity to mean not infinite temporal duration but timelessness, then eternal life belongs to those who live in the present. Our life has no end in the way in which our visual field has no limits. If we take eternity to mean not infinite temporal duration but timelessness, then eternal life belongs to those who live in the present. The problems are solved, not by giving new information, but by arranging what we have known since long. Don't, for heaven's sake, be afraid of talking nonsense. But you must pay attention to your nonsense. I am sitting with a philosopher in the garden, he says again and again, I know that that's a tree, pointing to a tree that is near us. Someone else arrives and hears this, and I tell him, this fellow isn't insane. We are only doing philosophy. We are asleep. Our life is a dream. But we wake up sometimes, just enough to know that we are dreaming. Not how the world is, but that it is the mystery. Philosophy is a battle against the bewitchment of our intelligence by means of language. How small a thought it takes to fill a life. Never stay up on the barren heights of cleverness, but come down into the green valleys of silliness. When we can't think for ourselves, we can always quote, if you and I are to live religious lives, it mustn't be that we talk a lot about religion, but that our manner of life is different. It is my belief that only if you try to be helpful to other people will you in the end find your way to God. We feel that even if all possible scientific questions be answered, the problems of life have still not been touched at all. To imagine a language is to imagine a form of life. I act with complete certainty. But this certainty is my own. At the core of all well-founded belief lies belief that is unfounded. If anyone is unwilling to descend into himself, because this is too painful, he will remain superficial in his writing. If I perform to myself, then it's this that the style expresses. And then the style cannot be my own. If you are unwilling to know what you are, your writing is a form of deceit. Ethics and aesthetics are one. What can be shown, cannot be said. Language disguises thought. For an answer which cannot be expressed, the question too cannot be expressed. The riddle does not exist. If a question can be put at all, then it can also be answered. It is a dogma of the Roman Church that the existence of God can be proved by natural reason. Now this dogma would make it impossible for me to be a Roman Catholic. If I thought of God as another being like myself, outside myself, only infinitely more powerful, then I would regard it as my duty to defy him. Tell them I have had a wonderful life. Tell me, Wittgenstein's asked a friend, why do people always say, it was natural for man to assume that the sun went round the earth rather than that the earth was rotating? His friend replied, well, obviously because it just looks as though the sun is going round the earth. Wittgenstein replied, well, what would it have looked like if it had looked as though the earth was rotating? I give no sources, because it is indifferent to me, whether what I have thought has already been thought before me by another. What is troubling us is the tendency to believe that the mind is like a little man within. The world of the happy man is a different one from that of the unhappy man. A picture held us captive. And we could not get outside it, for it lay in our language and language seemed to repeat it to us inexorably. When you are philosophizing, you have to descend into primeval chaos and feel at home there. Language disguises the thought, so that from the external form of the clothes one cannot infer the form of the thought they clothe, because the external form of the clothes is constructed with quite another object than to let the form of the body be recognized. You can't think decently if you're not willing to hurt yourself. If you tried to doubt everything, you would not get as far as doubting anything. The game of doubting itself presupposes certainty. Don't think, but look. PI 66, this is how philosophers should salute each other. Take your time. The mystical is not how the world is, but that it is. If in life we are surrounded by death, then in the health of our intellect we are surrounded by madness. An honest religious thinker is like a tightrope walker. He almost looks as though he were walking on nothing but air. His support is the slenderest imaginable. And yet it really is possible to walk on it. Sometimes, in doing philosophy, one just wants to utter an inarticulate sound.